What's going on, Tom? First of all, from Lauren and I, we want to say thank you for purchasing our rig, because you purchasing it allows us to move on to what's next, and we're very excited about that. So thank you, and we hope that you guys get years and years out of her. I will say we did design her to off-grid, and so with the independent suspension, with the solar system and all those things, you definitely I'm going to miss a lot of the things about this rig. I'm going to miss this rig as a whole, but she was my baby. I really built her the way I wanted to be built. And so, yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy her. She's probably the most complete Valor that's out on the market right now. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about, real fast, the kind of maintenance things as far as what's going on. So I'm going to literally just run through anything that has a date attached to it now so that you have all of that information. So the generator. So the generator's life, it's at like 158 hours, something like that, really close to that. So the break-in oil from factory was changed at 25 hours, and then I almost said miles, 25 hours, and then I put more break-in oil in, and then I did that again at 50. You're normally only supposed to do it once at 50. I did it both. I'm weird. And then every 100 hours after that. So I just did it again at 150. So when you get to 250, you'll want to replace the oil. I don't remember off the top of my head, but when we get to the generator, I'll show you where you can find that information. It's just on one of the inside panels there. Anode rod water heater. I did drain the water heater. That was replaced in October. So realistically, it's 5 to 8 months of use. So it kind of is situational on how you're going to use it. Obviously, it's coming empty and off. So for you guys, it'll be a little bit different. I can't remember if you said you guys are going full-time. If you do go full-time, I do it every 6 months. But outside of that, it's kind of situational. So if you start to smell kind of that rotten egg smell, it's time to do it. That's the telltale sign of it. Okay, what else? Generator, that air filters. Depending on where you guys go and how long, we did it once a month, or if I noticed that they're starting to get a little bit of a dust buildup on the bottom of them. So that's situational, but just one thing I'll tell you on that, just water, no soap. Just use water and like a paper towel or like a chamois or something. Rinse them off, dry them off. That's it. Put them back. Nothing too fancy there. I'm sure there's more, and as we get around to them, I will point them out. So I'm going to start with the exterior. I'm just going to walk you around anything that I notice. I'm not going to do the solar yet. I'm going to wait till the very end for that. And then the generator is going to be what pulls us inside. So everything else, I'm going to just walk around the coach real quick, point anything out that I think you need to know, as well as wind just closed one of the bay doors, as well as anything I feel like has a special operation that you kind of need to know. So I'm going to flip you around and let's get into this thing. All right, so right out of the gates, we're going to start here kind of by the door and go forward. So the door, we actually have this keyless lock. You're going to get a key to it. I recommend, so this is the door portion, this is the deadbolt portion. When you're in transit, I recommend doing we need to clean the exterior still, so take that with a grain of salt, the fingerprints, that'll get wiped off. You'll want to deadbolt it when you travel. It's just a little easier. The other thing is I changed the code to 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 2 numbers per. So you hit 1, 2, 3, 4, and then unlock, which is down here. On the back of it, there's this little code reset. There's this little code reset thing. You just press and hold that until it tells you can enter a new code. So that way when you go to reset it, you'll have your code, whatever you want it to be, in there. It only came with 1 fob. I think because it's the compact, it only came with 1 fob. That was weird. But we're obviously getting you the fob. Same thing on the back with that, though. Like I have it turned off because it burns through battery faster. So if you want the fob on, you just flip that up, and then your fob will work as well. So spray port, not gonna lie, we used it like once. So pass through this side of the pass through bay, just kind of wanted to go over some things that are in here. So we have an external ladder, but it's right here. So we have the Lippert stow and go ladder. So you can see those hooks on it. I'll show you where that goes when we get around to the outside. This tool is in case you have a flat tire, that gets your spare down. I'll point out that hole again when we get over there. This tool that I've never used is in case something happens to your hydraulic levelers. That allows you to get your levelers down. Okay, this is a little bit unique. So Alliance gave us these. I asked for them, and I just never got around to installing them. So I'm now officially passing them off to you. That is, sorry, something happened behind me there. That is our decals. So it's this decal and this decal. I intended on putting them right here on the slide walls. So if you want to do it, go for it. There's a way. If you just Google how to apply a decal to an RV, there's like a soap water solution you can make, makes it pretty easy. We just never quite got around to it. So that's what those are. There is the gray and the black with the red stripes. So if you choose to do that, you do have enough to do all of your slide walls all the way around. You won't do the bedroom because it's above the gray line, but the other ones, you'll do this one and the other side. So anyway, that's officially yours. So there's some solar stuff, but we're not going to talk about that right away. So we're just going to kind of move around the coach. Obviously solar stuff, generator bays there. We're going to come back to that. And then that's more solar. It sounds like you're going to switch this out. So I'm not going to go into too much detail except for this is the lock. Like I said, I'll leave the key in it whenever transportation comes to pick it up. You do have this little thing hanging down here. That's an easy dry lube plate from Reese. So I use that. I'm leaving it on mainly because I'm not going to need it. Also, this is the cord keeper. I'm not going to take it off because everything's kind of attached from MORryde. So you can see how I have it. You can do it however you want. Most people put the 7-way in here. I never liked that. It just didn't work right for me. This will remain attached to right here. It's magnetic, so you can pull it off. So if you want to use it whenever you switch the pin box out to Gen Y, assuming you're still doing that, yeah, you're good. So, all right, coming down the line, I just realized I need to unlock. And I'll go over keys and everything here in a minute, too. In fact, this is probably a good spot to do that. So this is your electronic leveler. So it is a hydraulic leveler, but because it's a 12-volt system, they use this electronic leveling. So you just power it on. It's pretty simple, man. If you're going to auto level, like if you're unhooked, just make sure your truck's clear before you do this. Just hit auto level and it'll go. Now, if you're looking to do something different, like auto hitch essentially, so that's like taking it back to whatever hitch height you left it at, and then auto retract. I do that whenever we're done for the day and I'm hooked up and I'm just pulling all the jacks up at once. And then manual level, that's where you'll use this individually. And if you press it, it'll go down, retract. You hit retract and push it again, it'll go back the other way. So those are your kind of options. The other thing is that if you are just trying to get it off of your truck, you hit power, you can just automatically hit front and it'll start putting the legs down. And if you're trying to take it off and you're not using that retract all, you just hit retract. That'll light up, and then you hit the front. I'm not doing that now because the slides are still out. So anyway, so that's that. Real quick on keys since we're here. You're going to have 4 total keys, like I said over there. Purple is almost everything. This one that says Valor on the outside of it, that's just for the ramp door. There's one that says RV lock on it. That's going to be for your front door. And then this little silver one's an accessory thing. I'll show you where that's uses in a minute. So, okay. Propane, it's on both sides. I'll show you both sides. This side has the main regulator, so obviously 30-pound propane tank. It's on this tank right here on the off-door side, and terminology matters, so off-door sides, this side is full. We just had it filled because it ran out the other night, so I filled that. This is your regulator. All the propane's currently off, so you're going to have that solid red right there, if you can see that. And then there's an arrow pointed this way, which means it's to the regulator that's on the other side. So this propane tank is hooked up to this side of the regulator. This side of the regulator goes to the other side. Because both of them are off, there's no propane flowing, you get the solid red. So if I was to, let's say, turn this one on and flip this over, now you just get like that straight line up and down. So now there's propane active in the line. So I'm going to put it back because the other one's like half full. Back to solid red. It's kind of because it's bleeding over, and then propane back off. So moving on. All right, so wet bay side. So the easy stuff first. So this comes off and you can access all the stuff back behind there. So your servo's back there for the solar system, because I'm not going to crawl back in there and show that to you again. Water pump right there, but there's a lot of components right here. So that's kind of where I have a tendency. I put a water sensor back there, so I would recommend that. We do have the manifold system, which is a little bit different than like the Nautilus, which is what most people are kind of used to now. I personally like this one because you can turn water off to certain spots. So like we don't use our outside shower ports, and we don't use the washer dryer in the master bedroom. So we literally have both of those turned in the off position. So you can see this way, the main lav sink, that's in the on position sideways. So it means water's flowing this way. It means the valve's closed there. Your low point drains are here, which are literally right here. You can see them down there. So when you open one up, and I left these purposely, you'll see it drain out at the bottom. So as you're winterizing and doing all that stuff, which I still need to do that portion for you, which I'm getting to, that's one of the big things. Hot water heater. Now, I realize I'm starting to go through. So anode rods down there, and then pressure relief valve there. I'm not going to open it because the water's still a little warm. We're still just wrapping a few things up. Furnace. This storage bay right here is actually it's empty. So I actually used it for electrical, but that is in the kitchen. So you can put a trash can down here if you so choose. Okay, so down there, you can kind of see it. So we added the Valterra valve onto the end of it. So you do have the valves down here. So this is the Valterra. This says Valterra, but it's your rear black tank, which your black tank is going to be the washer, dryer, and the restroom. Everything gray, black, indifferent is the same. And then the rest of your handles are right here. So your black tank on the right is exactly what it sounds like. It's your main bathroom's black tank. This gray tank in the middle is your bathroom. So that's gonna be like your shower, water, and sink. And this one on the left that's kind of shaped different, the little guy, that is the galley or the kitchen sink, if you may. So I'm still hooked up to power. I use the Power Watchdog. I love it. Your call. I would use something. And then this power cord I'm going to give you. So I upgraded the power cord whenever we did the solar system to something with a little heavier gauge, just in case I put a little too much demand trying to charge things up. So you're getting this one. It's just different because it's green. It's happy to be the brand. So fuel station. Again, I've unlocked all these things. So handles back here. I don't use it all that much. This is your control panel. So it's kind of funky. If you're just curious status, you hit on, there you go, and you'll get your status. So the one on the left is your generator. The one on the right is your fuel station, which would be this handle. If you want to turn it on, you press and hold both of these on-off buttons at the same time. For 3 seconds, you hear that. Now, if you want to turn it off, you just press and hold them again. And it turns it off. So it does have a feature if you are using the pump, and I'll explain what in a second when we get over there, that when you're done with the handle, it will actually turn the pump back on. It's reversing it so that you don't get any leakage. It'll actually suck fuel back into the tank. And if you are looking at those fuel gauges, if you hit on and just tap it, it's just lighting up the indicators. You do have an almost full generator tank and a completely full fill station. So just kind of something to remember. And then your actual fuel fills right here. So this is your generator or forward. This is your toys or rear or your fill station. So moving back. So obviously you have the back of the rig, but right here, so this little keyhole is how you open it. There's also a way to do it inside. I'll show you. Also, if you see these little things around the rig, I left them on because they're kind of hard to find, but they are for security cameras. So there's a couple of them kind of stationed throughout. I left them on because they're just double-sided taped on, so you can take them off really easy, and they're hard to find. So I figured I'd leave them on in case you want to use that. All right, moving along. So, and again, I'll show you this on the inside, but that's an air vent from the inside. There's one on the other side as well. This cabinet is the MoRide compressor. It only goes up to 100 PSI, so it's not enough for the tires. I've never used it. So it is plugged in the 12 volt. There's a switch right here just on. It's very annoying and loud. It's up to you. I'll lock it and close it back up. This one is different. So that's that little silver key. I don't know why it has a different key, but it does. So on the keychain, it's this one little random silver guy. We've already put it away. We elected to keep the treads that go in. Because if you're at a truck stop or something and someone parks next to you, sometimes the solid stairs can't come down because someone's too close. You can still get in and out down here like you use restrooms. And then we upgraded to safety rails. All you do at the bottom is grab it, pull it, and then you pull this down, and it's out. We've loved it. So, and then to put it back in, you just pop it right there. You can also do it here and then come back in. These are really strong magnets right here, and that holds everything together, and you're good. So, tires, IS. Oh, the IS maintenance, that's what we're going to talk about. See, I knew I'd forget something on the maintenance side. So independent suspension, so you do want to service it once every 12 months, or I think they said 10,000 miles. So essentially all you're doing, and you can definitely do it yourself, there is one portion of it that might be a little funky. So because it's an independent suspension, you have to worry about your alignment. Our alignment was spot on from when we left the factory, both times, and so we didn't actually have it adjusted the last time we were up in Indiana. There are authorized places all over the place. I don't remember where they all are, so you have to kind of get with Moride on that. But you do want to pull the wheel off, get the bearings out, grease them, all that stuff every 12 months, clean them up, kind of normal stuff. There is a rubber shear spring essentially back behind there. You essentially want to visually inspect that. That one part can be replaced if there's something going on, but it is a unique thing because if there starts to get cracks and everything, that is your suspension. There's a coil back there as well, but that's the main part of your suspension. So 12 months. And now that I say that, I realized we had it done, I believe, in September, October. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move to the inside. And we'll go from there. All right, man. The other bonus thing, too, is obviously you're seeing the condition of the rig. So depending on what transport does or doesn't do is kind of a good question. So you have a unique pantry, by the way, because we initially had the pull-out drawers at the bottom, and we hated them. They were dumb because they weren't very wide. And so we asked Alliance if they would send us more of the tracks and shelves, and they did. But what they did to everybody else is they just made them permanent. So your shelves actually move, and you can remove them. Like, we actually weren't using one of them, and so we had to bring it when we went and got the chairs from storage. So they come out pretty easily. Those tabs just push in, so you'll get the hang of it. It's pretty simple. Trying to think through anything in here. Otherwise, I'm just going to start in the back. So also, everything you see right now is in road mode. So that's kind of important to note as well, because this is just how we do it. Now, I got the stairs for you. I don't use those. So those are the patio stairs. They're tied in nice and tight. I did that myself, so you should be good on those. The back patio doors, when you're traveling, put the glass down from the upper, because if that falls, they have to replace the whole door. It sucks. And then definitely do the candy cane latch. Just for a second, I'm going to move it. So this yellow strap also will open the door, the ramp door. So if you pull that and push, the ramp door will release and open, just as a heads up. So the Happy Jack system kind of above us. I get that candy cane to go back in. So it's over here. It's this button right here. So right now I just have it independent for the lower. You can see the desk going up and down there. Also, the arms, I think I mentioned this down there, are in that pass-through bay. I didn't know if you're going to use them or not, and they're easy to get on, a pain to get off. And so I left them off because on's the easier version of that. If you want to bring down the upper bed, there's these little flips right here, right? So if they're down on the outside like that, then it'll go up, and then only this will come back down. If you want to bring the bed down, you flip that over. There's one on each. So there's one over there, there's one over there, and there's one over there. So all of those beep, you go up, you'll hear it click and snap, and then you bring it down. Now, to push the bed back up and get it to lock, you have to lower this all the way down past it. Give yourself enough clearance to flip this back out, and then you push the bed back up. Once it gets up to there, it'll lock back in place, and you're kind of good to go. So what else? I left you the Pepwave up there, so that's our router. It is done a hard factory reset, so in the description down below, I will put the link to set that up. You'll need the serial number, which is on the unit. But it's pretty easy to do, but it's a MIMO, so you can put cell cards in it if you want. You just have to get a mini SD card, and that will take care of that. Anything that we felt like you might benefit from, we kind of just left. So if you choose to take it off, so like the basket here, we just use it as storage for stuff for the washer dryer. It's just stuck on. You just kind of unstick it and use a little Goo Gone, and it'll come right off. The washer dryer, so it's in road mode too. So I have the airline tracks. I put a strap over the top of it for as I step on the patio stairs. So on this, the one thing I'll tell you is it does take a little longer because it's ventless. I always like to run a cycle and then make it stop, not automatically go over to dryer, which you can do, but I always like to add a dryer sheet. So I would make it stop, I'd add that, and then go in and do the dryer setting only at that point. Another little tip, because it's not actually, I didn't want to bolt it down because if there's ever an issue or anything, there's all these holes in the floor now. And unlike up front, it's just out in the open. So I chose not to. So I do put this in road mode. When I take the strap off, the long part of the strap goes behind. I literally just drapes it in the back. And then this small part, or with the actual ratchet mechanism, is part of that L track. Also, I had some extra one of those. I put them all right there because we're not going to have a toy hauler, so I don't need them. So if you toss them if you don't want them, but I don't have a need for them, so I left them there. There's one more there and one more there. I forgot there's more over here. So you have a couple extra ones in case you need them for anything, kind of different sizes for different things. On this, I don't recommend, so I change it to low. Anything above low, because it's not actually bolted down, can start to shake pretty good. So on your spin stuff, sorry. So there's ways you'll play with the settings, but as you do that, going through that, I would keep it on low personally. Anything else back here? So this is the rear awning. I'm not going to put it out because I can't see it if I want to. This is the bed controls. So again, and I'm going to put that up in the road mode now for you, so it's good to go for transport. Main light. This is the light that's in the bunk. Kind of see it turning on and off up there. This light is those LEDs on the back wall. And then this light is actually the light on the awning outside. So that is about all back here. There are speakers up there, and those are on the JBL out in the front. Take that up. And done. Okay. Oh, the restroom in here. So we left the shelf, and if you notice, there's these little things. That's just keeping it from rubbing on the wall. So it's a tension rod that comes all the way up to the bottom. We don't really have a need for it, so it's all yours. And then it has its own fan, its own light. And then your GFCI line 2 reset is actually right here. So if something happens and you pop it, there's one there. The other one's in the master bath, so I'll show you that one in a second. Also, because we don't need them, we left these. There's power to them. It's just in the back, so there's 2 USBs and a couple of outlets attached as well. Storage, not a whole lot going on here. TV, this part's important. Always do this. I had a friend that did not do that, and this was not an I did it thing. In fact, the Gars are really good friends of ours. They also have a 44. It's that fully painted one that we toured like 3-4 months ago in Arkansas. They didn't, and his TV was here when he got back in. So yeah, make sure and tie that in because that straps to the back of the wall. Also, I left these little hooks back here. I hate the visual of those straps hanging down below the TV, so I added those so that it gets them out of the way. I have a weird thing. I left the vacuum in here just for a second because I don't know if stuff on my feet, and so I'm going to give it one more vacuum before I seal it up and go. And I know this is getting long, but I promise we're getting there. All right. This is your owner's bag from Alliance, so that's everything we got from Alliance initially. So that's going to be like a lot of manuals, all that stuff. This box is kind of that. This is the papers and stuff that Todd gave me from the solar install. So there's not really any how-tos in there, but it's like the manuals or some extra cables if you decide to change anything, that kind of stuff. All of your remotes for the entire coach are up here. There's not many of them. So you have 2 of these connects, however you say this TV brand, remotes. These are for the 12-volt TVs. So one's for the bedroom, one's for the one in the garage. The TCL TV is for the one in the living room. The JBL is for the stereo, which is right there. You can pipe the TV through the stereo. It's just part of the ARC HDMI system. I didn't personally like it, so I didn't do it. And then a remote for the heater. Don't underplay that. The little fireplace thing. It actually puts off some pretty good amount of heat. These are in a little baggie. So we got these when we got the rig, and we just kind of held on to them. So I'm going to pass them along to you since we're not going back to a Valor. The one with the black top is touch-up paint for the cabinetry. So it's this color. So if you ever nick it or do anything, you have a little touch-up paint. Careful, it gets everywhere. It comes out fast. The other one is a fill stick. So if you ever nick it hard enough and you need to actually fill it, you can rub this in there, and then it's the same color. Or if you feel so, once it dries, you can paint with this. So anyway, I'm going to give those to you just in case you need them for anything. And last but not least, so I told you that they came with the camera system. So the transponder and everything are up on the roof, which I'm not getting up there. So you have to trust that it's up there. So it is the HaloView RD10, which is the mirror. It just straps to the back. It does have a camera. So you can use a dash cam. You can slide it out and in if you needed to get a little more. I'm just out of hands. But it goes in here. It's all touchscreen. You can get a micro SD card and put it in there, and it'll record everything. And then the power supply for it right there. So that's all going to be right in that cabinet above what I call the coffee nook. I'm not sure what you're going to use it for. So, all right. Sorry this is long-winded. I promise we're or 9 minutes in. So this is gonna be like a 30-minute long video. My bad. So a couple things that are over here. So the original thermostat / your furnace thermostat, because we did the cubes. This is your fan, Fantastic Fan or Max Air fan. The fan's in the kitchen. It's right over there. So on, obviously, off, and if you just want to pop it up. Also, above the fan, we did install the cover. So that's still up there. So when you look up there, like you'll be able to run it in the rain. Just know if it's a driving rain coming from the back of the coach forward, water still could get in. But from the front, you're pretty much good to go. So that way, if you're cooking or doing something, you can still kind of cook and have the fan on. So, all right. Time to talk air conditioners. You've been doing your research, so I'm not overly concerned about it, but this is your remote. They stay on all the time. You can see it says 78. It's just because I don't know why it says 78. So I'm just going to run through the modes really quickly and then give you my 2 cents. So obviously on off, when you're changing anything, you need to point it at the actual unit. So I have the LEDs off. So I'm going to make sure all the LEDs are on. That also keeps it from beeping. So like in the bedroom, if you want that, there's a little temperature gauge on the unit itself. That's up there. If you don't want that to glow all night, if you hit LED, it'll turn off. So it only glows when you change it and give it a couple seconds and it'll turn off. So pretty simple. So your on off button, you have your modes, which I'll go through in a second. If you just want the fan, so like sometimes it's cool, but you just want to circulate some air, that'll just the fan. Follow me is important when we get to auto mode. Sleep, so if you want to turn off automatically. Swing, so when the unit turns on, you can see how that arm opens up. If you hit swing, it'll oscillate back and forth. So if you just push it once, it'll continuously move. And if you get it to a position where you want, if you just push it once, it'll stop in that position. So kind of the gist of that. And then this eco-friendly mode, didn't use that. And you can set a timer for the whole thing, like if you want to turn on at a certain point or turn off at a certain point. Turbo is when you're in manual mode. So as far as the modes go, so you have auto, which is what we left it in most of the time. If you leave it in auto and don't put it in follow me, it's going to stay there. So obviously if I change the setting, let's say I put it at 75, that changes to 75, you're good to go. By the way, you do have controls up there as well. So like in bed, if you need to just change it, then you're good. I would just take the remote. I would always put it in follow me. So what follow me does on auto is there's a temperature sensor back here. So wherever this is sitting, then that's where it'll gauge the temperature and it'll cool or whatever it needs to do to get the temperature you have set on this. It's actually 67 in here right now. Once you hit follow me and it times out, it'll actually tell you the current temperature. So I'm going to turn all that back off. Then you have a dry mode. When you do dry mode, I put it up like 80, 85. It's essentially a dehumidifier. Now, inherently, it's going to blow cold air. It is a very strong dehumidifier. So what we do overnight, like if you run the furnace overnight, like it got down to 34 the other night, and we had the furnace running, obviously, because we didn't want to freeze. So it was nice and toasty inside, but that creates a lot of moisture, especially like on the windows. So humidity is not your friend in an RV. So the cool thing about this is if you just put it on dry mode and let it run for like an hour or two, it'll suck all that humidity right out of the air. So that's kind of cool. I don't really think there's anything else that's super important on here. There's fan mode and then manual mode. Manual mode means you're just essentially setting, you'll have a little fan icon down here and it's like low, medium, high, and then turbo. You don't really have any say in the temperature at that point. It's just going to blow cold air as hard as it possibly can. So that's the cubes. My 2 cents, I left ours on auto. I liked it just a touch colder. So one of the things that I would tell you about the cubes, and this just goes for, actually, this is mostly for RV air conditioners as a whole. The temperatures aren't necessarily always right. So you kind of find what works for you. So it's not like a house in the sense of you set it at 74 and it's actually 74 kind of throughout the house, or at least at the thermostat, and it's pretty regulated. Because these things are, I mean, they're insulated good for RVs, but that's still not anywhere near like a house. I mean, it's nowhere close to the R rating and the walls and roof and all that. So I play with it and get to a point where you're like, okay, I like that temperature, and just look and see what it is. Now, the unique thing about here is obviously you have it there on follow me mode, but you can also walk right over here. And this will still tell you the true temperature. Like it thinks it's 65 in here, and it thinks it's like 67 over there or something like that. So it's kind of one of those things. Now, I will tell you one of the cool things. So this is essentially your furnace. So like right now we have it turned off. You're still going to have fan low, high, cool, low, high, auto, low, high, and then heat. Realistically, you're only ever going to use the furnace here now. The air conditioner is not hooked up to anything. So that's the downside to that. And I actually learned to like it because let's say you're getting a cold front overnight. I would turn the ACs on, but I'd set them at like 72, 70, whatever we felt like overnight. And they cycle so low that they're barely just moving air and they're not cooling the air anymore when they get down to that point. But then let's say I want this to kick on at 65 degrees. Again, learn your temps, whatever works for you. For us, it was 65. Then I would set this at 65, and then it would essentially automatically turn the heat on for me, and the ACs weren't really doing anything. They were still technically on, but they weren't bad. And in doing that, they're actually dehumidifying a little bit. Nowhere near like dry mode, but they are dehumidifying. Sorry, that's our other camera. So anyway, moving on. I'm just trying to think anything else. Table and chair is pretty self-explanatory. There's a strap down there. When you travel, I recommend shades up. I'm going to put them up before I leave because I'm going to leave this thing in road mode. So as far as the kitchen, man, everything's pretty self-explanatory in here. The only funky thing with this oven is when you go to light the oven itself, make sure the door's open, put it on min or MIN minimum and push in. It's going to click. It takes a minute or so. So don't abandon ship real quick. The oven is the last in the line of propane kind of wise, if you may, from all the stovetops. So the stovetops light really fast. Specifically, this one lights the fastest, second, third, fourth. The stove is number 5, and the propane's got to go down a ways. So click and hold it. You'll hear like the clicks change a little bit. But if you're ever curious, with pressing it in, just throw it down to like 300. If it doesn't light, then you're not there yet. But it gets close. It does have a circulating fan in it. It's not a full convection, but it does a decent job. What that does, because these things are kind of RV stoves are notorious for having hot spots. This one's pretty good. It still gets them a little bit, but if you turn that fan on, it evens it out. Now, it takes a little longer to heat up, and then obviously you have your light button. That turns the blue fancy lights on plus the lights down in the oven. That's how we know if it's on or not. So that was my little trick is if the oven's on, that light's always on. As soon as we turn it off, that light goes off. So if those blue lights are on, I know the oven's on, and then vice versa. Sink, we don't really have a need for this because we're going to have a different size sink. So we're leaving you the grate. This is the drying rack that came with the rig. And then this is the hole, so trash hole. So remember the bay I said outside? That's there. And then you got power down below and all of that good stuff. We were already over there. We're back to the door there. I guess it's control panel time. So main control panel, pretty simple. This is your Victron stuff. Again, we're going to get into that in a second. So main light systems, dimmer, your water heater, your gas version, and your electric version. It's going to heat up way faster on gas. Electric is just kind of the rock steady one. If you're on a campground, leave her on. Otherwise, for boondocking purposes, I always use gas, but about 15 minutes before you want to take a shower, just throw that bad boy on. It'll be hot. If you have electric on, you can run both at the same time if you want to. If you have electric on, and let's say like your wife's going to take a shower, but you're going to come right behind and take a shower, throw the gas on before she gets in there. For Lauren and I, it was as close to an instant hot water heater as you're probably going to get without actually having one. Now, if there's like 6 people taking a shower, it ain't going to last. Water pump, exactly what it sounds like. Turn it on, your water pump's going to turn on. I just heard it cycle. Tank heaters, so black turns on both of the blacks, so front and back. Gray turns on both of the grays, which are both up front, and then the freshwater, obviously freshwater. So if you're going to drop below freezing, just click those bad boys on. All it is a heating pad at the bottom of the tank. It just keeps it from freezing. That's all it does. So you're going to notice where it says EXT-DS and EXT-ODS. When I come down here to the slide controls, you're going to see bed, ODS, and DS. I labeled everything myself to match theirs. So this stands for door side, off door side. So door side, door, camp. So you'll hear people say passenger side. You'll hear people say camp side. Alliance says off door side and door side. So these are exterior lamps on the outside, so LEDs on both sides. So if you're somewhere at night hooking up, flip them both on. Kitchen is that weird little thing that I'm not going to lie, we never used. Hallway is just this one hallway. Sometimes people and their transit will just leave that one on. Ground effects are the lights underneath the bay or the outside the frame. Camera, so when you are going to go tow and you want to use the camera, you flip that on. That turns the camera in the back on. Accent lights are those. So they're the ones up by the crown molding. And then awning lights are the lights on the awning. So you've got just the door side awning on the other side. And then you have both awning controls here. My little tip, awning 1 is the forward one, so you can just open the door and look out and see where it's at. Don't overextend. It can roll out and back in on itself. So when you get to that line in the back, and if it's rain, that flap that hangs down sometimes gets stuck up there. Just when you get to it and you see the actual metal, back it back in, and it'll flop down. Awning 2 is actually in the back. If you open that window, well, the blind to the window, you can see it. So that's my little trick there. Trying to think anything else. We're going to come back to that. I don't know if there's anything else up there. Okay. Bathroom, just a couple things. We weren't sure how quickly we were going to use it. So because we have this is brand new. We literally just put this in today. And then these were kind of expensive. So they're just soap dispensers and like shampoo dispensers. We left those up there because it's, again, way easier and cheaper to just take them down versus not. So we left them there. We also left you our hooks. Those are for, like, we use them for face towels. They're just command strips, so you don't want them. And then, again, we built this thing to off-road, or off-grid. So this thing, anything you put back there will stay there. Just you want to check the tension rod. You don't want it to be too tight, but you just want it to be snug. Same thing on this one. Anything we left back there stayed there. We didn't take anything off of anything. Now, anything on that top shelf or that top shelf, stick it down there. Also, we gave you those because that thing lets in so much light and heat. It's really quite annoying. And then the bedroom. Hi, not a whole lot here. Just the other AC, the other controller. It's a bedroom. Okay. Okay, let me think through if there's anything else. Now it's time for solar. I'm going to start with where the power comes and goes to, but in a nutshell, my introduction into solar is you have 10,000 watts of inverted power. I'm going to tell you have 8, only because I don't like to push past 4 per line. You are running in split phase. So again, I don't know how much you know about this stuff, so I'm going to kind of treat it like you don't. So split phase is where because you're a 50 amp coach, you have 2 legs in the coach, line 1, line 2. Some things are on line 1, some things are on line 2. For instance, the front and middle AC are on line 1. The rear AC, the washer, dryer, and the furnace or the fireplace is on line 2. So you have to think about your usage and your consumption and all that stuff. So because you're in split phase, those 2 lines are separated. So when power comes in, it gets distributed correctly. Let's head outside. All right, so we actually have some components right here in our front. By the way, those are the legs. I don't know if I pointed that out to the Happy Jack. So this is actually your main power line coming in. So this breaker right here controls whether the solar system is getting power from a pedestal or whatever you happen to be plugged into or not. There's another one over there. You can kind of see it. That's your solar panels. So because this is the main, that's why you have a thicker gauge. And over there, you don't need as much because it's just going to the MPPTs from the solar up on the roof. All right, let's head up front. So, quick overview. So, all of these bays are your solar system. So, inverter 1, inverter 2. Victron actually calls them master and slave. Sounds a little awful, but that's what they call them. So the one on the left is master. I always put things like you read a book, so left to right. And then we have 2 MPP 150 over 70s. The reason we have 2 solar controllers is because I have 2 different types of panels up there to maximize. One of the batteries, and then the other 2 are down here. Now, in addition to that, these 2 things that say Orion are your DC to DC converters. So these are 24-volt batteries. That's converting everything down to a 12-volt system. And then behind that, and then back there in the corner, if you can see it, is your 12-volt distribution system. Okay, this little silver thing that says DMAX on the side, that's actually your electronic actuator for your disc brakes because they're hydraulic. And then this is a battery protect. So this is put in line with these, and it protects any like back surges on the batteries or anything like that. So for all sakes and purposes, these 2 batteries are down here. I'm not going to worry about them. Just know that this breaker in here, so if you ever need to kill them or turn them off, flip the breaker in the off position and then hold this button down, it'll go away. If there's a light, it's on. It just happens to be red. If there's no light, it's turned off. So every once in a while, one thing too, do a little tug test, see how that's not moving at all. That's what you want. After time and traveling, they inevitably will kind of come loose. So there we go. Okay, up here, I forgot to mention, this is the Lynx distribution. So all of your power comes in and out of this. Behind this panel, so you take this off and you slide this to the left. Forgot about that. That's the hydraulics for the entire coach. Okay, now that I showed you where everything is, and I will say, you have these light indicators on the front. So mains on. Bulk is essentially your mass charging from a pedestal or from the solar. If this says bulk, that doesn't necessarily mean this will say bulk, because these are your solar controllers. So absorption means that it's kind of topping everything off, and float means you're full. So bulk, absorption, float, you can tell we're in float right now. If the inverter is on, this green light will light up, which says inverter on, and this main will turn off because there's no longer a main. Okay, also, this is kind of an important thing. Typically in a toy hauler that you have a generator and a main power in, you would have something called an automatic transfer switch, and it would normally be right there. So your generator is hardwired into the coach, unlike a portable that you plug into your power port outside. Because it's hardwired in, you would have what's called an automatic transfer switch. So the coach is always going to want to put the generator first, no matter what, over shore power. So if you start the generator right now while plugged in shore power, the system, the ATS is going to flip over to the generator because it likes it better. I don't know why. It's just the way the industry's done it forever. I think because it's the more like, I need that to work no matter what situation if the pedestal were to go out. So just, you don't have an automatic transfer switch anymore. The way that the solar system is, it is your automatic transfer switch because both inverters have one in, and so they both come in. All right, let's go into the GX Touch panel now. So when we say GX Touch, this is it. This is simply, the GX Touch is simply the screen. If you hear anybody refer to this as the servo, it's the brains of everything. So it's what's controlling the entire system. So this is your standard view, if you may. I call these little guys the ants running around. So you have whatever your input is, shore, it'll say shore or generator, depending on what you're on. So if I turn the generator on right now, this is going to say generator, not shore, and then same thing on shore. If nothing is on, then it's not, there's just going to be a red box there. There won't be anything there. This is, remember the indicator lights that tell you what's going on? Like it's in float right now. That's what this is. So if you were inverting and you weren't, like if you were traveling somewhere and you stopped to get food, then you would be in inverting mode here. This is your AC loads. So that's going to be anything that's actually coming from the inverters. You can tell we don't have anything on right now. So just in random little things, your AC load's only 9 watts and it's all on line 1. And I don't know why. Oh, I'm charging the vacuum. That's why. So down here is your battery bank. It gives you the percentage, how many watts it's actually currently doing. So it's actually currently intaking 11 watts or 0.3 amps. It just changed it from 0.4. Now it's back to 0.4. And it's at 27.7 volts. This is also telling you how much your DC power system is using. I have a lot of lights on some other stuff. So we're using 316 watts on the DC power system. That's your 12 volt. And then your PV charger is your solar charger. So something to note, and I'll show you how to get there in a second, but with this will sometimes say 0. If this lives at 100, then this will say 0. And that happens a lot. Right now, it happens to be doing what's called a maintenance cycle. So if you didn't see these lines here, this would be sitting at 100%. Typically around 27.1 is where it likes to be at 100%, but inactive. And your charger here would be at 0 as well. If they don't, so the system's smart, so it limits the amount of solar it needs to actually do this. So when it's in a maintenance mode, it'll do this once every couple of days, especially if you're plugged in for a while. It's best for the batteries to keep energy moving in and out. If it stays stagnant, it can actually hurt the cells. So what it'll do is the batteries, because Todd built a smart battery, it'll discharge itself by literally 1%. So it'll take itself from 27.1, 27.2, which is considered 100% full, down to like 27 volts or 26.9 volts. And then it'll charge itself back up. So when it's inputting that, the volts spike up because there's a current going into it. So like you see, we're up to 27.7. The highest I've ever seen is 28.1. And that's because we were charging pretty hard and fast. And then we needed to come and do it. It tries to do it through solar first because that's the preferred method, because then it warms up the MPPTs and the panels. It kind of just keeps checking itself, making sure it's working. So if you're plugged in for a long period of time, know that you're going to see that. Before we're done, I am going to disconnect from shore power just so you can see what that looks like on the inverting side. So every once in a while, you're going to want to reset what's called your 100% charge. So you want it to be in float no matter what. And I'm not going to actually do it because we're doing a maintenance cycle. You want this to be 27.1, 27.2, because it's a little high right now. Yes, you're at 100%, but it's doing a maintenance cycle. So if you were to set it right now, it'd be a little off. So about once every few months, and if for some reason you have to do work on the system and you have to reset everything, you'll have to do it immediately. But as soon as you get to float and you notice that everything's kind of stable, to change that and to change it, to set your 100% mark, you come in, you just tap anywhere on the screen, you'll have this menu button. On here, what you're going to do is you're going to go down to settings. Nope, I lied to you, I'm sorry. You're going to go to the shunt, which is what measures everything, then settings, and then battery bank, and then you're going to get your battery bank stuff. So if you were to ever change your capacity, this is where you change it. I don't know that I would change anything on here. We've got it pretty dialed in, so I would just leave it alone. But if you scroll down, this says synchronize state of charge to 100%, press to sync. So you would just press and hold that. You're not going to get a confirmation or anything. It's just going to light up blue. That means you did it. I'm not going to push it because of that. Now, this calibrate zero current means it's shot, like there is nothing. Don't do that. It knows where zero is, okay? So don't worry so much about that. And then to get back, you just hit pages. That's really the only thing in settings I'm not going to lie, you should probably be changing. Now, if you want to connect it to the internet, which you do, what you need to do is you go menu, settings, and then you'll come down in settings and scroll down to Wi-Fi. And then from here, you would click Wi-Fi networks. Now, give it a second. Yeah. So now you can see all of the different Wi-Fi networks. So find the one you want, hit it, and just like anything else, it's going to ask you for a password. So it'll say password. You click there. And then you type in that password, it'll log in. When you are online, there's going to be a little like Wi-Fi antenna looking signal thingy right up there when you're back on pages. So if you clicked on it here, you would see it pop up there so that you know you're on Wi-Fi. So what you can do is there's an app, and you can also go just to the website. There's the VRM portal, which is it's Victron Connect essentially. So you can check it as long as it has internet. You can check it from wherever. The other side of that is I can also check it. I'm currently logged into it. So you'll need to create your own username and password and all that stuff. And then on that, you'll connect to it via Bluetooth. You'll find the Serbo, click on it. The Serbo is named Valor Serbo. Pretty simple. And then the password, the pass key is just 0000. Once you click in it, you can add the installation to your profile. Click add. It'll tell you that you're not the primary. Just say okay. When I see that, because I'll get a notification, I'll actually set you as the primary. No hurry on this. And like I said, I'll hold on to mine initially, which I can see everything. So if you have a question, as long as it's on the internet, I'll be able to see what's going on. And then I can kind of talk you through it. Something else to note too is you can see under AC load, it says L1, L2. So those, because it's in split phase, that's line 1, line 2. Those are what you want to stay. Each of them, try to stay at 4,000 or below. Once you go above 4,000, it gets a little dicey. So that's kind of solar in a nutshell. A few quick little things. If it gets too warm, the inverters put off quite a bit of heat. Now, when you're traveling, you can't do much about that, and it should be fine because you should have a lot of stuff powered down. But make sure and open, like if you're not going anywhere and you're charging a lot, or you are pretty low, or you're inverting pretty hot and heavy, I would open that top door. The bottom one doesn't matter, but that top one, and it will kind of let some of that heat out. Until it kind of gets charged, or if they're just working hard, they get really hot, and it's to a point it gets too bad. I actually had temperature and humidity sensors placed around just so I could see what it was. They were this little Govee thing. In the description too, along with those how to reset stuff, like the Pepwave, the router, and then the door handle, I will actually give you our Amazon store, and it has all the stuff that we use. So if you have questions on any of it, it's kind of all right there. So I am going to turn off the pedestal real quick, just to kind of show you. So I'm not actually going to unplug it. I'm just going to throw the breaker to the off position. And then we'll pop our heads back inside, and you'll kind of see what I'm talking about as far as the inverting and all of that stuff. Yeah, so obviously the generator's not on now, so there's that. You're inverting, so now you're starting to see the solar come in because our AC load's 11. So now it's doing two things. If you notice, the charger is, so because it's only 100%, it doesn't need a lot. So essentially, it's only pulling enough charge right now to keep these topped off and power the DC and the AC load systems. So If you were to get down to about 20% of your battery capacity, that's when I would potentially consider popping the generator on. Also, if you think you're going to use a lot of power, not a bad thing. Just use the Genny a little bit. I mean, it's there. Use it, right? I wouldn't hesitate in using it. You fire it right up. It's actually, the remote is right there. And I just realized I didn't go over that, so I'll talk about that in a second too. But now you kind of see how everything, the cool thing is when I say everything works in the coach, I mean, nothing changed. Like the time on the clock didn't change. The lights are still on. So that is kind of the cool thing about it, is you never are resetting anything because the power just works in the coach. Okay, so let's just kind of briefly talk about like load management stuff. So when you are going to use the heavy load things, starting the generator is a heavy load thing. The air conditioners were heavy loads. I'm not really sure. There's not much of one anymore on the cubes, but I still consider it a heavier load than normal. And then the hydraulic system. The hydraulic system is a power hungry thing. So if you're going to use the hydraulic system, and what powers on the hydraulic system? So your main two slides, so the couch slide and then the dinette or fridge slide, are both hydraulically rack and pinion driven. The front one is electric, so you don't have to worry about that one. And then your leveler. Those are your three most power hungry things. Fourth runner-up would be your generator start, your auto start on the generator, where you actually just push a button versus pulling a handle or a ripcord kind of a thing. So when you're going to use your hydraulic system in that front, you need to shed loads. And I say that because it's not that you can't handle anything. Like you'll see your lights flicker when you do it. In fact, I'll just show you. So if I go to bring that slide in, I'm just going to tap it. You'll see the lights flicker. Yeah, see? So when you do that, what happens is it just needs so much power. It has to pull from everywhere else to get it started. Once it's going, it's perfectly fine. When that happens, anything on the 12-volt system, put you in manual focus. Anything on the 12-volt system likes to reset. I say that because your screen didn't break. You just need to give it a minute. Because we wired that in the 12-volt, it's great because when you're off grid, you're not pulling extra power for the servo. I mean, you're using it, but very differently. It's not taking up, space on the inverters. The downside is when you use the levelers or the hydraulic systems at all, it resets. So it's fine. I was concerned that I wasn't hurting it. Like it's already, you can see it's booting up right now. So it brings everything back online. Your solar system does not go down. It is just the computer that reads everything. So it's literally just this screen. The servo's still up. So if you're looking on your phone, it's still there. It's just this screen that's 12 volt. So it prefers 12 volt. That's why I hooked it up that way. This is just one of the fun things. There's also no 110 anywhere, which means I have to run extension cords, and that didn't make me feel real comfortable, whereas the 12-volt system distro is like right there. So it was easy. You can already tell it's already back up and going. So, all right. The other thing I was going to tell you is the generator needs a lot of power to get going. So if you're doing it from in the generator bay or here, you hit prime till it's light. I actually let go of it, count to 5, and then do it again. And when you hit start, if you have air conditioners running, the fireplace uses a ton of load, turn that stuff off because it won't be enough power to get it to turn over. If for some reason your batteries are completely dead, and I mean systems put itself in protection mode, shut down, no moss, how you get everything back up and going is from the generator. So you go down to the generator bay. Let's just go down there and I'll show you. By the way, you can hear him humming a little bit now, and you can see it says inverter on. So you come down to your generator bay, you open this up. So this just pops off. Right here are your 30 amp breakers. So you would flip those off. Okay, you can prime it and do all that stuff right here. I just turned the breakers off. There is a pull handle right here. Okay, so with the breakers off, you pull, get it to fire up, let it cycle for a little bit. Your choke's right here, by the way. Let it cycle for a little bit, and then as you bring it back on, flip one, give it a second, flip one. And then you should be good. At that point, it'll start forcing power back to the solar system because it's like hooking up to the shore power, essentially. I just turned the shore power back on. It's actually been a few minutes. Not even that. It's been like 60 seconds max. So you saw it just came back on. So a couple of things. If you have like a power watchdog or any sort of a surge guard there, that won't let power pass through immediately. And then the system itself, the solar system, will do a check as well. So now that both of those two things are on, you can see, Again, it's showing me which lines, but now I'm pulling only 41 watts in because that's what I need to kind of keep everything. The solar, everything we did there, the solar actually was on what we call pass-through mode. So on that front, it kept it had enough power. I'm gonna speak right one of these days. It had enough power to not only keep the batteries charged, but then run everything that it was requesting a load of. Okay, so one other mode, and then I think this is going to be it for the solar. It's called Power Assist. Now, it's called that. You'll never see it on anything except if you're reading something from Victron directly. So Power Assist is if you don't have enough amps coming in. So for instance, let's say you're at a RV park that only has 30 amp. Well, you can use everything in your coach like if you're on 50 amp. Because if you're on 30 amp, you're only going to power one of these two legs, and that's it, typically line one. With this, it brings the power in. So if you dog bone down, assuming you know what a dog bone is, it's a convert. It's the thing that essentially takes you a 30 amp cable can go into a 50 amp coach. So it takes the line away or adds a dummy line and kind of tricks the coach into taking power. Or you can even do like a little 15 or 30 amp, or 15 or 20 amp, like a 110. You can get one that plugs in as that way. Anything's better than nothing, especially if it's free. But in those modes, your coach will function as normal. So like if you want your ACs on, they'll turn on. It's going to use the power from the pedestal, however many amps it is. And when doing that, it will assist from the batteries. Now let's say you drop your load, like you turn your ACs off, and now you're getting more power, then it'll use that power to trickle back to the batteries in conjunction with solar. So essentially it's an assist, hence the name Power Assist. So we've used that quite a bit. It's handy because you can prolong staying off grid and that kind of stuff. This probably turned into a long video, and I'm sorry, but hopefully it was a good reference point. If I missed something, by all means, just text me, let me know, and I will be happy to either walk you through it or shoot something just real quick on my phone. And I'm not even 100% sure when you're going to see this because today is the Sunday before Christmas. So I know Monday, you guys, you're definitely not going to see it Monday because I have to edit it, which I'm not really going to edit. I'm just going to throw this all together. But anyway, if you have questions or something, let me know. I thought of a few more maintenance things. Sorry to follow back up. I resealed everything on the roof about 4 months ago, something like that. And then Alliance touched a few things up because we did a few pieces of work up there. Some of the plastic was failing on something. And so we just replaced it, but then we resealed it. So you probably want to check your seal, especially if it's sitting out in the sun. Check your seals about every quarter. Just jump up on the roof, walk around, look around. And I also forgot to show you where that ladder actually goes. So before we stop, I'll go out there and show you where that ladder clips in so you know where to get up. You can walk on the slides. I wouldn't. Your call. It's better than falling, but I would try not to, I guess is the best way to say that. I can't think of anything, man. I hope you guys enjoy the crap out of her. Let's go show you the ladder before I forget for the 15th time. Okay, so when you come to the back, over here, right by the fuel station, you see that thing that says Lippert. So that's where the hooks go into for the ladder and extends up past it. So you just got to make sure it's level. Like this wasn't the best spot for that because of the gravel. But for the most part, it's actually been a really good ladder. I like it because there's less holes in the side of the RV because of it. And I think it looks cleaner. So yeah, there you go. And there you have it. So hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, if you have questions, just holler at me. Be happy to walk you through anything. Other than that, that's about it, man. So enjoy her. Hopefully you camp a ton in her, and she's a great rig for you for however long you guys want to keep going. Use her. The IS is amazing. Oh, the disc brakes. Holy shit, Ryan. In your truck, when you do go to hook up, you need to change your setting of the type of brake. So it's like, normally it's just electric braking. You need to change it to electric over hydraulic and then play with your settings. I put mine in high. That's because of the actuator. If you don't do that, you're not going to have any brakes. So if for some reason you have an issue once you hook up to it, and it's all through the 7-way, so you don't have to do anything different. You just need to go into your tow settings and change your braking system from electric to electric over hydraulic. That way it works. So anyway, have fun with the rig. We'll miss her. Take care of my baby. Please don't damage her. See ya.